Hey Jasmine, well, right behind me is the scene we're looking at. Smoke is still rising as there's still hot spots volunteer firefighters are monitoring right here at the moment. So the volunteer firefighters say that the initial cause of this was a four-wheeler in front of the building that eventually caught on to the church itself, causing the major flames. But here with me to more talk about this church right here is Pastor Alan Lane. Come on in, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Glad to do so.
Yeah, so I know you retired about 10 years ago, but you're really here for when it was originally built, this church. Yeah, can you tell me through the history of what it was throughout the years?
Well, you can see through the smoke, the building that still looks like it's very, very hot is our original church building.
Yeah.
And it was, at the time of the fire yesterday, a very thriving thrift store.
Yeah, it gave back to the community. That's what they're telling me, the firefighters.
Really did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a stack of clothes. They had turned this into a small department store where I had friends in town that would come in and look here first before they tried to buy a new suit, because they could probably find a better choice here.
Yeah.
And 3 days a week, folks would actually walk down this highway to come here. Folks who didn't have vehicles. This is kind of their center of their community.
Yeah.
And so from that building in June of 1992, a group called the Baptist Church Builders of Texas out of Snyder came with volunteers, about 250 of them, and they erected this building in 1 week.
Wow, that whole entire brick building.
This entire building.
Incredible.
Over 6,500 square feet, including the 60-foot steeple that went down last night.
Right.
That went up they started with a flat slab on Monday morning, put up the first two walls, and we're putting up the first of the trusses after lunch on Monday.
Yeah.
And then continued to work, and Friday afternoon we erected the steeple before they had to go.
Really cool. It's a volunteer-led effort too.
It's incredible.
Right here. What was your reaction yesterday hearing the news about the fire here?
Well, I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Of course, I was concerned about the pastor and his family because they live in the building that was spared.
Yeah, thankfully they were safe.
They were safe. They were here, but fortunately they were in another building. In fact, they were preparing tacos to deliver throughout the community. Apparently, they had a list of folks who were not able to get out of their homes, and they were about to load up that vehicle and several others to go deliver that when someone came and knocked on the door. When I heard about it, my first prayer was about them, because I knew they lived here. And I'm concerned about the sanctuary. I mean, it's a beautiful sanctuary inside and out.
Yeah, it looked beautiful online, yeah.
Yes, I'm grateful for the gift that it has been for so many years.
Yeah.
But then the concern was, were they going to be able to rescue that other building? Because there is a large meeting hall over there where the church can meet.
Right.
And the home for the pastor and his family.
How are the pastor and his family doing right now? Have you talked to them?
Yeah, I did. I saw them all last night, and they looked like they were doing fine. Of course, they were tense because at that time didn't know how far the fire was going to spread. But fortunately, these firefighters were incredible last night.
Yeah.
There are a couple of ancient oak trees here, and I brought that to their attention, and they shifted resources and were able, this tree and then the very large one over there.
Yeah, because there's a tree right over there, Jasmine, Lindsay, is a huge tree where people get married under. It's a beautiful scene right there. And the firefighters you mentioned, they're still here.
Yes,
they're still
they are
monitoring the smoldering, and even, I think a little bit ago, brought the hose to
and this large tree, there's a beautiful deck that our church family had built around it where we held services.
I'll zoom in on that.
Yeah, where we held services, weddings and funerals and church services, and it caught fire.
So I can see the deck right there for sure.
That's right. So it was burning.
Wow.
And again, looking at the entire picture, one of the trucks was assigned to be sure that that tree wasn't damaged. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate their willingness to do that.
Yeah, because you're telling me there's a lot of wedding ceremonies that you can even, I think you even mentioned, like, you can feel the Holy Spirit kind of rush down your arm.
Well, this tree you just panned over to show is an enormous tree. It creates its own environment under it. It's kind of like the tree is breathing.
Yeah.
And when you're sitting there, you can feel the air move. And I always told folks it's kind of like the Holy Spirit was brushing up against you.
Yeah.
Very special place. And of course, this is open folks would be walking by,
Right.
and I can't tell you the number of times that I was in this building and came out and saw people sitting there eating dinner or praying because they were drawn this way just because they were going by.
Yeah. Well, what did this church mean to the Whitney community here?
That's hard to really accurately describe.
Yeah, it's tough.
This church loved and loves Lake Whitney, not just Fort Graham. This Fort Graham is along this particular farm road.
Right.
And we love this community. We would go house to house and ask people what they needed, not to ask anything from them, but to ask how we could serve them. But this church also initiated a couple of ministries that are region-wide. One of them is the Lake Whitney Food Bank. It's called Our Daily Bread. It started here and now serves hundreds of people every month. It's located in Whitney now in a very large industrial building, and volunteers from all of our churches help there every day to help people who are in need. And that this was kind of a start of that is really, very important.
The community outreach efforts was one of the first things the volunteer firefighters mentioned when I pulled up here, because you're mentioning the pastor family was getting ready to give out some tacos, give out some food.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. And so when you got here yesterday evening, about what, 7:30?
7:30 or so. Yeah, the steeple was just coming down.
Yeah. Can you kind of describe what was happening? Were a lot of community members, church members just watching from the parking lot? What was that
yes.
like?
Well, I mean, the fire trucks were just arriving.
Yeah.
They haven't blocked off the road yet. So there were folks who had heard about it and were parking along the road, and there were a couple of marshals,
Right.
Firemen who were trying to organize the people and keep people safe, but also to organize the resources, put the right trucks in the right place. I understand at one point there was a truck from every volunteer fire department unit in this county here helping us last night. So people came from as far as Hillsboro and maybe further, and God bless them. And I say thank you to you who helped. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, my last question is, do you have a message for anyone watching right now in the Whitney community or anyone nearby about this church and moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. I understand the church is going to have Sunday services this coming Easter. There will be nothing greater than for you to come and be here and show your support and your love for the church. I know there's a GoFundMe account, but really what they need is you. And that's really the message of the church. You can give your money, you can wish the church family well, but if you're in this area of Whitney, won't you come and worship this coming Sunday with Pastor Brian and the Fort Graham Baptist Church family?
All right. Well said, Pastor Lane. I'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for your time this
You
morning.
bet.
I really
God bless
appreciate
you.
it. God bless you too,
Take
sir.
care.
Thank you very much. Something else I do want to point out too is that with these walls on the structure right here, it's kind of tough on this angle, but you see right there in the front is the cross right there. That is the only wall that was not touched by the fire.
When this building was going up,
standing proudly right in front of FN 2604. So I'll be here for the rest of the Texas Today live stream right here until 9 o'clock, giving you updates on the latest here. But again, the Cedar Creek Volunteers Fire Department says that the four-wheeler was the start of the fire, spread to the church, and then we're waiting for the fire marshal to arrive on scene to give an official cost about how that four-wheeler caught on fire. I'll be sending it back to you, Jasmine Lindsay.